It is now time for me to use my ultimate skill of knowledge and power to recall Brawlhalla esports information from 5 years ago to apply it to the future. And it's actually not that impressive. I spent a lot of time indoors during college and had a very hard time making friends. But I do know a lot about characters in Brawlhalla, and one of the characters that fell off really hard back in the day was Asuri. Whoa. 6% of you are subscribed? If you subscribe, I promise I'll make Sandstorm and Boomy team together again. Thank you. Back before everyone cared so much about stat lines, everyone cared about signatures, because old school Brawlhalla relied heavily around reading with signature abilities, and Asuri had some of the best signatures in the entire game, including the dunk. I think it's really cool when people use characters like Asuri and don't follow the trend. However, if this was back in 2018 or 19, if you're an Asuri main now, you were just like everyone else then. So I can't find a lot of older clips from pool stages, but most of the people that showed up to Brawlhalla tournaments were Asuri players. But the most important ones we need to know are Wilson, Wrench, Noelle, Santi, Ethan, and Tiffany, all very successful Asuri mains who were early on to the scene, and the leader of that forefront was Wrenched. So Asuri rose to fame because she had guitars, which was the best meta when the game was first starting out. Noelle had won many of the original tournaments using guitars, and the previous world championship won by LDZ had used Lucian, which also used guitars. Essentially, Asuri was the most Chad character that used guitars at the time, and the most Chad player was Wrenched. If you went off stage with Wrenched, 9 out of 10 times you were dying. This created the large general appeal for Asuri and why so many people wanted to pick her up, because no matter what the disadvantage was, if you got 1 read, 2 read dead, you know, Asuri was great. So essentially what happened to Asuri is the train lost hype, and the conductor of the train left. Wrenched stopped using Asuri, and that generally killed all momentum for the character. Essentially, Asuri had received some indirect nerfs by being a Katar's character, and this led Wrenched to dropping the character. Because Wrenched was, you know, getting first place placements on Asuri, to see him drop top tier character really brought down the momentum and enthusiasm for anyone trying to pick up Asuri. No one was quite at Wrenched's level, and no one was getting first place, especially not during the Sandstorm era other than Wrenched. So when he stopped using Asuri, there was no more first place for Asuri, nor for Wrenched, because he put all his time into guitars, and without using the best guitars character, there was no room for this character to stay popular or relevant or in the limelight, and this was when Brawlhalla was a lot smaller. So out of the 2,000 people watching, if there was no one watching to see Asuri being played, you would cease to see her in ranked, twos, and all other facets, because she's hard. Guitars is hard. Sword isn't so hard, but you don't play Asuri for the sword as much as you play for the guitars. Now, sword was great because you could build up the damage with guitars and then get some true combos such as delay recovery with sword, and then Asuri had amazing signatures. You could reverse the direction of Asuri's dashing move with the sword, leading to some unexpected kills, and this was just one of the many things Asuri did to get a lot of kill confirms despite having low strength. Asuri's stats were not very good, and in the common age of Brawl, where stats are so heavily focused on, Asuri wouldn't have survived. But her signature and playstyle made up for her weak stats. Same thing can be seen with Ember. While only having 3 to 4 defense, Ember is still played in the top pro level because her signature kit is so good and works in so well with her character. Another character that really struggled to continue on in its play rate after we moved from LAN to online was Hattori. Not like Hattori's dead, but compared to her legacy she had on LAN, she does not rack up the same amount of playtime as she used to. Hattori is essentially just too hard for her reward. Her reward's very high, but the precision required to make Hattori work is way too difficult. So she has very hard punishing signatures that combo very well into each other. The smoke catches enemies, spear Ensig is great at shooting upwards, and her sword Ensig angles enemies downward off the map, and any move that angles them downwards diagonally off the map is just broken. And she was very fast. Her quick movement allowed you to punish players in almost every situation and fit very well with her character design because she had quick sigs plus the quick movement. The only catch to this is that you had to play Hattori perfect. So Hattori in herself is not flawed. It is the person using Hattori that is typically flawed, because in order to make Hattori successful, you had to play with some pinpoint precision. But when you're not playing with pinpoint precision and you're always a 3-hit combo away from death, the character doesn't pay off as much as you'd like it to. And in the current 2 state of meta where Axe is very popular, playing 2 squishy characters doesn't really work as well. According to my viewer analytics, most of you are from America, so don't get too upset when I say this, but this character that I'm mentioning next fell off harder in Europe than he did in America. European people still exist, while they're maybe not as good at Brawlhalla, until MSI who has an idea, but they still play the game and have rights too. So let's go ahead and acknowledge the fact that Ragnir fell off like a rock being dropped into water. A rock being dropped into water. I don't think that's a saying, and that's not really falling off. That's just falling. I guess falling off would be like the egg carton falling from the fridge shelf. I don't know. But Ragnir fell off. He too was a victim of the Qatar nurse, leading to like everyone losing interest in the weapon as a whole. But also he just was crept on by other characters. Like Qatar's wasn't as good in 2v2s because it wasn't as reliable for combos, whereas Spear was super reliable. Therefore Bryn took over in 2v2s. And then when Lance took over in the meta, Ragnir lost out to Olgrim because he had Axe and he had Lance. NA players heavily overlooked Lance, and this was mainly because of the idea that Lance was a bad weapon and inherently flawed. It wasn't so much that it was inherently flawed, but no one had taken it to such heights. The D-Light was used for Lance team combos, which could be used as 0 to death someone, and Nair was just beyond broken. You could neutral with Nair, edgeguard with Nair, and set up combos with Nair, and if you were to jump and turn around, the Nair would come out and land. The Nair would come out in front of you and land behind you, which is a super effective tool. This would also allow you to short hop Nair and then just be a flaming ball of fire rolling across the stage. I think the reason Lance was so overlooked is because everyone just followed the advice of pro players blindly and higher elo players. People believed that Lance wasn't good because after gold you could typically beat Lance. It wasn't that Lance was bad, it was that the players in gold were very bad and didn't know how to use Lance to its max potential. Everyone was just abusing the side light and Sair combo where they should have been looking at Nair and D-Light combos. Lance excels at punishing while maintaining a safe distance from the enemy, so it required a lot of good understanding of the game and movement to punish Lance to therefore get past that gold barrier. However, if Lance players took the time to diversify their kit and use the weapon in more ways than one, it was really deadly, and in 2s, it was oppressive enough as is, and even more oppressive at taking enemies off stage, guarding with Nair, and setting up for team combos with D-Light. Therefore, knocking Ragnir out of relevancy because Lance was just so much more dominant in the meta around early 2019 than Qatar's. Other than Asuri, Hattori, and Ragnir, no other character quite fell off as hard. Oh wait, I forgot. There's one more. It's him. In the 2020 Brawlhalla World Championship for North America, 44% of the top 16 consisted of Jae-Yoon, not including the other 17 entrants plus Europe, which also had its grand finals consist of Jae-Yoon versus Jae-Yoon. Essentially, if you played Jae-Yoon for any purpose other than winning a tournament, no one liked you. And after the extreme overkill of nerfs put onto the weapon, people deemed it dead. And along with it, Jae-Yoon, who was rarely seen in pro play, and this is the biggest drop off in pro play rate in Brawlhalla history without a doubt in my mind. That is all for today, young ones. Our brawl stories and tales will continue later at another time. I want to thank each and every one of you for the recent support and engagement in the comments. This video wouldn't have been possible without the engaging comment section you all have built. I read a lot of the comment sections out there on YouTube, and I really like how my comments have a strong opinion and tend to back it up with a little bit of writing. I see my notifications and I usually get really excited to read and comment and reply to a lot of the comments I get. It gives me a good perspective on how I come off with my videos, and I like to read every single one to make sure I'm doing the right things. It's cool. You guys are cool. Subscribing helps too. Lets me know what you guys like to see in my videos. Thank you so much.